we've spent so much time.
I know. We've got 2 whole more decades to do yet.
I'm so sorry. Like, is this going to be like a 3-hour long Chariots of Fire style podcast? Basically, this is going to be like the 10 Commandments of podcasts. So buckle up, everyone. Right, okay, 2006.
Can I start?
You can. You are more than welcome to start. Yes.
I was going to say, I think I might have to not talk for a while. So go on.
No, I feel right. This is my moment. Right, 2006. Sorry, this is where my voice is going to go as well. So, as we know from other episodes, 2005 was when I really got into metal, and I was just absorbing everything. So 2006 was when I was just exploring even more, and I'm going to talk through like the big metalcore albums for me of the year, but also it was the year that I really discovered like melodic death metal, and I was kind of dipping my toes into heavier stuff. So actually looking back through, when I thought 2005 was the most influential year for me, actually 2006 is it's packed for me. But also it's interesting because I got into a lot of the metalcore in like 2005. A lot of bands that brought out 2006 albums like Bleeding Through, Atreyu, Killswitch Engage, you know, a lot of people would argue that actually their best albums were 2004, 2003 or whatnot. But I think because I was still so new to metalcore, actually their 2006 albums for me are their best. And like looking at Bleeding Through, The Truth, which was probably my biggest album of that year. And obviously, I mean, I talk about 18 Visions a lot, but obviously I got into Bleeding Through because of Brandon's connection to 18 Visions. But there we go. Oh my God, he got it.
Oh, hell yeah.
He got it. But The Truth was like the heaviest thing I'd heard at that time, you know, and you know, it was so polished because I remember when I was like, oh gosh, okay, so Brandon's got a band called Bleeding Through, and I checked out This Is Love, This Is Murderous, and of course back then when I was like 13, 14, that was like really raw and rough, but The Truth was like nice and polished. You know, he does a bit of singing, albeit badly, and then you know it's the first album that Marta actually wrote the keyboards, because on the last album it was still Molly. But for me it was, I think it was the keys for me. I kind of keyboards in metal are still like new for me because obviously discovering everything. But I just remember putting my headphones on, and especially the song Dearly Demented, when like the keys come in. I mean, is that the one with the guy from Tiger Army on it? But I just remember kind of covering my headphones and just kind of like really savoring like the sound. But for me, that was so heavy, and the artwork is so gnarly. And I just remember buying it thinking, oh my God, my mum's going to be so upset with me because I bought this really gnarly CD and it just sounds awful. But yeah, but then it wasn't until 2008 that I actually saw them live. And that was my first ever gig. So for me, The Truth is like the pinnacle of 2006 for me, but also Killswitch Engage, As Daylight Dies, again, just peak metalcore album. And me and Carl have got it in the car at the minute, and it's perfect. It's still perfect. Actually, my only quibble is too many songs fade out at the end. And it's like, come on, could you not write an ending?
Yeah, I assume fade outs are like where you don't know where else to go.
Lazy songwriting.
Yeah.
But I was still in school, and I remember, oh gosh, this is when you could actually leave the school at lunchtime, and we you know, our school was near the coast, so we'd go to like the beach and just listen to Killswitch on like our CD Walkmans, and just As Daylight Dies was just perfect. And even listen to it now, it's aged so well. It's just riff central. Yeah. It's incredible, and
it's a Pete Howard record.
Isn't it? I
was going to say that's not the Howard's first, is it?
His time in the band.
No, that was his second. Yeah. So he came in at End of Heartache. You know, that's also a very good album, but everything's just perfect on As Daylight Dies. And then, you know, you also have a Death Grip on Yesterday. And I talked to Carl about this because Carl is a fan of albums that have like 14, 15 tracks because he feels like he's getting his money's worth. Whereas I'm like, actually, I always think of a Death Grip on Yesterday with 9 tracks being perfect.
Just give him a sleep record.
Yeah.
Double album with one song.
Yeah, there's only 2 tracks. Yeah.
But again, that's another metalcore album where, you know, their most famous is The Curse, but actually Death Grip on Yesterday, again, wall-to-wall banger. I think it's just them like sounding at their best. And I think for like As Daylight Dies, A Death Grip on Yesterday, and The Truth, I've been chasing that high for those bands ever since, and I've never quite got there. But from like a melodic death point of view, just having a look through. Oh God, I can't talk. I'm so excited about 2006. But looking through, and it's Himsa. That's another big one for me. Hail Horror, although it was actually their album later on, Unleash Carnage, which is the one that's my favorite.
Hail Horror is a banger. Although another interesting band because their first album was completely different.
Yeah,
like totally different from what Hail Horror was. There was like an EP between them, I think. But Hail Horror is a proper banger. It takes on a lot more kind of death metal influence to it.
But I really missed them, and I know that they were kind of teasing some shows a few years ago, and I think they played a comeback show, but they just haven't done anything since.
Aaron,
oh no, they weren't meant to play. They were meant to play the UK during, I think, when lockdown happened. They were meant to support Darkest Hour, I think.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, of course, that never happened.
One of their guys is ill. Long-term sickness. So I don't think they'll be doing anything anytime soon, unless they switch him out. But he's like a founding member. So.
But looking back through, and it's Insomnium for me as well, Above the Weeping World, and I just never heard anything like it because obviously being so new to metal, I didn't know what melodic death metal was, but I really liked it because it was so full of feeling. And I just remember the riffs being so, I don't know, I just never heard anything like it. I think because I'd been so obsessed with metalcore and kind of dipping my toes into the more melodic death metal.
There's a bridge between Bleeding Through and melodic death, I think, from the sort of the keyboard aspect of it. So I can see how you sort of went down that route.
Yeah, because then it was also the year I got into Amon Amarth, because I just loved With Odin on Our Side. And I haven't really listened to Amon Amarth since, because for me, this album was really serious, whereas I feel like ever since that album, they just got really gimmicky and they really into the Viking stuff.
Were like a proper death metal band.
Yeah.
And then they sort of had that, you know, Viking rowboat. Yeah, obviously that was their lyrical theme anyway, but they definitely pivoted into the fun aspects of it. And you know, but people love them on Amarth. But yeah.
And then Sixth, which I know we'll talk about at some point as well, and also The Haunted, The Dead Eye, and that's when I got into The Haunted. And then I guess the last really big one for me was Saturday Night Wrist by Deftones, and that gets a lot of negativity.
From me.
I know, it's one of my favorites. I really, really like it. I really vibe with it, and I never understand the hate on it. Why is it?
It for me, it felt a bit rudderless as an album. It felt like a band that was kind of burnt out and maybe going a little bit on autopilot. There are some banging bits on it.
Yeah.
But
I was just looking through.
Some of the banging bits feel like a retread of the previous. So, Hole in the Earth, undeniable banger. But then listen to that back to back with Minerva. It's basically the same song. There are some really good songs on that record, but as a whole, it just felt a little bit like they needed some time off. And that was really, really demonstrated with Diamond Eyes. Diamond Eyes came back out with an actual, like a complete, like, an actual energized bang.
Yeah, that was like a punch in the stomach when that, like in a good way.
No, genuinely. And I remember listening to it at the time and feeling a bit like, it's all right. I mean, there's some good stuff on it, but
there's some good closer riffs on Saturday Night Wrist. I think it had just gone on Spotify. Rats, Rats, Rats. I think it's got a nice
Yes.
chunky
Yeah,
Stephen
yeah.
Carpenter crusher at the end of that.
I think it stands up better if you go back and listen to it through the lens of now. So in like a post-gore, post-Ohm kind of landscape, you can kind of hear some of the things that they're doing on Gore and Ohms coming through from Saturday Night Wrist. So a lot of those through threads are maybe coming through from that. So I think it holds up better through that lens. But at the time, for me, it did just feel like they needed a break. And their live shows about that time were lackluster as well. They clearly needed some time off. Yeah, Diamond Eyes as and part of this, you know, I appreciate going back to Diamond Eyes now and saying, oh, they just needed some time off. Well, I mean, obviously Chi passed away in between the two.
Yeah.
So it's clearly not just that. They were kind of really a different band at that point. But nonetheless, I got the high and the hit I wanted from Diamond Eyes that I didn't get from Saturday Night Wrist. It's a good record.
Yeah.
But...
yeah, okay, I'll forgive you. But I will say one more thing. Now, I didn't get into this album in 2006 just because I don't think I had even heard of him, or I had heard of him, but they were just still a bit too heavy. But kind of coming back, gosh, where is it? Yeah. It's now become my all-time favorite death metal album, but Organic Hallucinosis by Decapitated. And I guess I didn't check them out because I thought they were just going to be too heavy for me. And no, they didn't have any clean singing in the choruses. But I think my exposure to Decapitated was, now I know we haven't talked about this yet, Beardo, but I know you're a massive Earache fan. But in one of their Earache box sets, he had their computer game.
Okay,
Gosh,
yeah,
what's it called?
Yeah. The Extreme Racing.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
So I popped that in my laptop, and he had like all the Earache roster on there, and it had Day 69 by Decapitated.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what year this was. It was probably a couple of years after, like 2007, 2008. But I remember hearing that song and thinking, oh my God, I've never heard anything like this. And I was like, this is like that riff. I just, even now when I hear it, I just get chills. And I just, hearing that song completely changed my life and just really introduced me to death metal. But yeah, so that album now is huge for me, but I wasn't listening to it in 2006. But yeah, that Extreme Racing game.
It was the last of the first era of Decap, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But
well, yeah,
obviously
obvious reasons.
Yeah. They've gone through so many different lineups for, like you say, for various reasons. But yeah, never. I was gonna say never a bad records, but I think there is one I'm a bit like,
Some of the recent ones, but I think it's just because I just want Organic Hallucinosis Part 2, you know. But their comeback, Carnival is Forever, for a comeback after such tragic circumstances, is brilliant. Wasn't too keen on the last one, but it's still got some good riffs. But yeah, Organic Hallucinosis, and like being able to see him live for a few times, I'm just so happy. But that racing game, he could like select the songs. I just had Day 69 on repeat, and then oddly, when you had that band Shorty, that were like kind of emo. So then
what Earache were doing at that time, I don't. Well, and today, to be fair, he says in an Earache Grind Crusher t-shirt.
But to be fair, that's good Earache though. It's not massive wagons, is it?
Yeah, but they're a business; they don't owe us anything. Yeah. So
apart from integrity.
Yeah,
and grind. But yeah, so that was kind of my 2006 in a nutshell. But I'm sure I'll chip in when I know Andy will have a few.
I do have a few. There's a couple I was surprised that you didn't come up with actually. Parkway Drive, Killing with a Smile.
You know what? I've never been. I like them. I wouldn't call myself a fan. However, that album, I would argue, do still have the best Parkway Drive songs.
It does. I do have a soft spot for Atlas as well, the one with the Bon Jovi style woo woo woos on it. I have a soft spot for that. Also, August Burns Red's Messengers came out that year, back when August Burns Reds were both A, good, and B, relevant.
They're all right. I've seen them live, and I'm like, yeah, cool, I get it. But and I should like on paper, I should like them, but they've never made me feel anything.
They're one of these bands that they're great for one album for me, because every one of their albums is kind of basically the same.
Yeah.
But that one album, and if you're going to listen to one album by August Burns Red, make it Messengers, because it is the best thing they've done. It is great. Sticking on the victory tip, Bury Your Dead came out with Beauty and the Breakdown that year, and that is, I would argue, their best record. I bloody love that album. Any album that actively references breakdowns in the title, sold. Done. In. Big year for post metal, Cult of Luna, Somewhere Along the Highway, ISIS, In the Absence of Truth. Not my favorite ISIS album, but it's still a great record. Overlooked, I think. Mastodon brought out Blood Mountain. I suspect we'll talk about that a little bit. Again, I'm kind of with you, Mr. Beardodoom. I love that name; it's brilliant. That's kind of beginning of the end for Mastodon for me. That's the last great record they put out.
Agreed.
Before they disappeared up Prog's arsehole. Pelican, City of Echoes, not their best album, but still a solid 8 or 9, I think. And that's before we talk about Converge. No Heroes.
No Heroes.
My third favorite Converge record.
I would argue Converge's last great record.
Oh, this would be one of those controversial opinions, really.
Yeah. I love it. Like, what an album this is. And I remember getting it at the time, and just somewhat having it on in the background, and the segue between No Heroes and Plagues, or is it Weight of the World into No Heroes? Just that they do this like 1-2. I just sit there and I was like, what is this? I was just like, because I did not like You Fail Me at all.
I really like that record, but I will say I like the Redux version better.
Yes,
the
agreed.
Much better.
Yeah, because I love everything up to Jane Doe. And then they reconfigured their lineup for You Fail Me, and I was like, well, it sounds like they've dropped a guitar, to me. And then when No Heroes came out, I was like, okay, they've beefed everything back up again. And yeah, I was talking about seeing them on this tour, and I was like, how was that 20 years ago? I was like, surely we've only just gone to that show, haven't we? Like a few weeks back. And no, 20 years ago was seeing them at the Concord 2 in Brighton. So yeah, no Heroes. I think I've come up with some different ones, but well, let's see what we've got on. Yeah, Andy, what's your view on No Heroes?
No Heroes, love it. It's I think probably my third favorite Converge record. But everything about it's brilliant. The way they've sequenced the record, I think sometimes we don't think about how a record is presented as a whole, especially in today's Spotify generation. But the way they sequence the record to create almost like a journey. The production, he finally kind of nailed it, because I mean, I love Jane Doe's production. It's like being sandblasted, but it is a bit one note. And then he went the other way and got the production just wrong with the first version of You Feel Me. I completely agree with you on the guitar bit. It felt neutered. And which he fixed in the Redux, which is why I like the Redux version better. But he got his groove back for No Heroes. The production's on point. It sounds fantastic. It balances all of the harshness and the little moments of space and of air to breathe in it, because they were really smart in the way they'd sequence some of the structures of some of the songs. Little gaps, little spaces to breathe before it hits you with something else that's unrelentingly heavy. Just a brilliant record. The other two I'd add to the list would be Trap Them, Sleep Well Deconstructor.
Yes. Okay, yeah, Trap Them. Yeah.
Bloody love Trap Them. HM2 to the max. Absolutely. And that's my favorite Trap Them record, hands down. It's like being caught in a hurricane that's mugging you and stealing your car at the same time. It's just bloody brilliant. And the other one I would call out is Pig Destroyer's Phantom Limb, which came out that year as well.
Yeah.
And
Great
a
record.
lot of people talk about Pig Destroyers being like Terrifier and Prowler in the Yard. Phantom Limb was probably my favorite, just because again it brought in a few other influences to it, so it wasn't quite so unremitting. It had some textures to it. It feels like a smart record as well as a brutal one.
Yeah, I think
anyway,
I would agree with that for sure. Okay, so how are we doing for time? Do we just keep going?
Wait, what's that
Metalmance,
restriction on?
You've got to go out somewhere. So
I know,
yeah.
doors don't open till 8. It's fine.
Okay, so we've got time. So there's things. So I want to talk about Celtic Frost's return, Monotheist 2006. I remember sitting with my mate, and funny enough, we were in a band at the time. It didn't go anywhere, but we were practice room band. And I remember on whatever archaic 2006 metal website we were reading at the time, it's like Celtic Frost doing this return album. But my God, what a comeback! What a comeback! One of the, again, right up there with essentially one of the heaviest albums of all time. I actually think it is quite a good companion record to something like Through Silver and Blood, just because it's like crushing weight, essentially. And I remember hearing, downloading probably on some 56K modem on the Century Media website that probably took about 2 hours and then played back in QuickTime, the Dying God Coming into Human Flesh. And I was just like, I did not expect that at all. And yeah, they didn't. So there's some weird they didn't actively tour this record, but I did see them in 2006. But when I saw Triptychon at Incineration Festival last year, they were saying this is the first time we've played Dying God into Human Flesh, Ground, I think it was. And I was like, I'm not sure that's true, because I saw them at the LA2 in 2006 and I said I was going to tell you my Cryptopsy story with Cryptopsy in support. And I was at the Crowbar pub in London after the show. I was quite inebriated in various ways. And in came Lord Worm, and I was stood with hanging out with Lee Dorian from Cathedral at the time, like not hanging out directly. We were just in the same place, we wasn't my Bezzy mate or anything, but I was sat down, drinking with Lee Dorian and stuff. And in came Lord Worm, kind of sat with us, obviously knew Lee. And all I remember saying is, do I call you Mr. Worm or Lord? How does one like to be spoken to, referred to? I have no idea what his response was. And I don't remember a lot of that night beyond that. But one of my fun sort of, claims to fame was sitting there getting absolutely shit-faced with Lee Dorian and Lord Worm after the Celtic Frost show.
How does one wish to be addressed?
How does one wish
Lord
to be addressed?
Worm,
yes.
or just Mr. Worm?
Mr. Worm, yeah.
Is your title honorary or?
yeah. And I'm sure at 25, that's exactly the age 25. That was exactly how I articulated that to him. I'm absolutely convinced of it. And then, so I'm going to rattle through a few of these. I'm going to pick some of these out. And then I've got one that I really want to talk about. Acacia Strain's Dead Walk. Just some absolute bangers on that. Some real fun ones. I think this was kind of their start of how they sound now, like Dead Walk. And then not my favorite Strapping Young Lad album, the New Black. But I remember got the promo of this before they played Download. So we sort of consumed this quite a lot. It's it's a weird one, and even Devin's like, you know, it was a weird record to record.
I think after Alien,
Alien
was just
what, 100%.
City was the peak for me. I love that record.
Yeah, City's my favorite one. But yeah, I mean, we could talk about Strapping Young Lad for 2 hours as well, I think. But yeah, so getting to see them at Download before this record was released, because we'd had the promo version, me and my mate knew what songs they were playing, so we're like the only two in there singing along to the songs. And then one of my only long boxes that I have is Agoraphobic Nosebleeds, Agorapocalypse.
Nice.
This is a filthy album with filthy lyrics. And yeah, it's got the world's best and only programmed drum solo. And if you've not heard it, you absolutely should. Because it's incredible what Scott Hull has managed to program on the drums.
So I've only just rediscovered Agoraphobic Nosebleed. I got the Arc thing, the Sludge which is brilliant. I've had that for years.
It is good.
Stepping back into the more of the grind side of things. So
yeah,
I haven't actually heard that record, so I will check that out.
You need to. Yeah, anybody who hasn't listened to this, kind of strap yourself in. There is some filth in there. It's not suitable for work whatsoever. But it is a great record. And then we haven't really got too much time to talk about these, but KO Dots dousing Anemone with Copper Tongue, really good, like post metal, Mortal of the Well people, and then Cannibal Corpse, Disgusting Kill. Kill's a great record. They really upped their like chug during that era. 2006, what's my favorite record? Probably Agorapocalypse, I think, is probably my favorite of 06. So yeah, should we move quickly on to 16? Because I have picked out a couple.
I have a couple, but I would like to hear from Miss Mance. I suspect she has a longer list.
Yeah. Well, I must just say, actually, 2016 was when I started Metalmance. So Metalmance is actually awesome. 10 years old. So I feel like I actually need to. Yeah, I feel like I need to do something to kind of
celebrate.
We should do a little 10-year-old's birthday party with cake and balloons.
Have a little hat. Yeah, it'd be lovely.
I remember the second year of doing it, I did a social media post saying, "Oh, you know, Metalmance is 2 years old today," and I had I picked up a balloon from Tech Fest, and it was Long Branch Records, and so I blew that up, and I'm just holding this balloon, and it's so embarrassing. But yeah, I was trying to work out what to do for like my 10-year anniversary, and I'm like, do I do like the 10 albums that kind of define me? So actually, looking back through here, I feel it's quite poignant because this obviously was the year when I started getting albums in advance to review. But I'll start from again. So I just pulled up Wikipedia. I think that actually stuff later on. Oh, Beardo, I thought of you because Textures released Phenotype, and obviously last Friday was when they finally came back and released Genotype, and we were hoping we'd be able to get them on the pod, but we couldn't align our schedules as they were prepping for tour, unfortunately. So that 10 years ago when that album came out, my mind's gone blank. I'm just quickly through. Oh, Killswitch Engage released Incarnate, but I think that's probably their worst one. I found it really boring, and it's just one that I never returned to. Deftones released Gore, but I hate it. I think it's a terrible album.
You and me both.
But actually, I can never pronounce his name, and this is when it gets really embarrassing. The guy from Emperor, Ishan.
There we go.
Arctis. What
Yeah,
an album.
that's a great record. Yeah.
What an album.
I nearly pulled that one out, actually. Yeah.
Incredible from start to finish. And the track with the guy from Leprous, incredible album. I loved the electronics. I love it, and that's still an album that I return to. So I think when I did because obviously being the first year of my blog, it was the first top 10 albums of the year I did. Actually, I should have probably just pulled that up. I remember Arctis being number 3. Aborted Retro Gore.
Yeah, that's a good record. Yeah.
Incredible album. I mean, Termination Redux is still my favorite Aborted song. It still just gives me such a rush. And yeah, I guess really that album was when they just tipped into maybe like a cleaner sound.
Definitely.
It just did it for me. I think that was also when I was still enjoying Cavell Attack, but I haven't really delved into them anymore. Lacuna Core, Delirium, another strong album. I'm a huge Lacuna Core fan, and this is when they were kind of really dipping into like the really darker sound of theirs. Gojira released Magma. Oh gosh, what's coming up? So, interesting. I'm just going for a beginning. Any given day. I think I started my blog back in September. Oh, there we go. So yeah, Evergrey, The Storm Within was a really big album for me in 2016. Never heard of him before, but I was dipping back into melodic death metal, and that was a huge album for me that year. I think they had some really good guest vocalists on, like Floor Jansen. So I was really enjoying the Euro Cheese. That's when Trap Them released Crown Feral, and then they just kind of never came back again. Oathbreaker released their like real breakout, Candiria, which I'm sure you're going to pick up on, Beardo.
While we were sleeping, yeah, great record.
Yeah, I bought that. I remember buying that on CD that year and just really enjoying it. And now Nathrak, The Whole of the Law, which I actually initially found disappointing because I just loved Vanitas and the other album so much that actually I just didn't quite get into that. But Animals as Leaders for me, The Madness of Many was in my top 5 that year. And I just remember listening to that. And I mean, I'm a big Animals as Leaders fan anyway, but that album, so many songs in there could really be on like a game soundtrack, but I really love the bass on that album. And I think their earlier albums, they did kind of just seamlessly flow into one another, and you did just listen to the album as a whole. But actually with The Madness of Many, I found that I could just pick out the tracks I liked and just enjoy them track by track. I don't know if that's controversial or not. But my album of the year that year, if I hadn't seen it come up, my album of the year that year was Black Crown Initiates, Selves We Cannot Forgive. And 2016 was when I was really exploring the more progressive side of metal. I'd never really dipped into it much before. And Black Crown Initiate for me was my gateway to progressive metal. And that album is still one that I return to a lot. It's just the perfect
I like that band a lot.
Heaviness.
They're a good band. Yeah, I'm a fan.
Perfect amount of heaviness. The clean vocals are spot on. The riffs were just some of the heaviest riffs I'd heard in a while. I mean, a great artwork by Travis Smith as well, who I love. But yeah, so for me, my album of the year was Black Crown Initiate, Selves We Cannot Forgive. And I think for me, 2016, but obviously it marked the birth of my blog, but it also kind of really like heralded the start of me dipping into the more progressive and like post genres. So yeah, again, I didn't think 2016 was going to be as influential as 2006 was, but actually it is. But Yeah,
Feels like
well,
5 minutes ago to me,
yeah,
though.
no, that's
That's what
it.
scares me about
I
it.
know.
I'm looking at the
But
names of the records I've got on my list, and it's like, Christ, is that 10 years ago?
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I
I've
know,
had
I know.
exactly that
But what I
experience.
might do is, while we kind of natter about it, I might just pull up my list of my top 10 from that year on my blog. And then, because I'm sure that going through that Wikipedia list, there's loads that I'm sure that I'm missing a load. So I'll find that while we natter and we can come back.
Yeah. So I'll go through a few of mine because I'm conscious I've done a lot of talking. So Arctangent reference for this year, Cult of Luna and Julie Christmas, Mariner.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
A record that I can't believe is 10 years old. I love that
yeah.
record. Another Neurosis record. So the last one they did, Fires Within Fires, which I really like. Not their strongest, but it's still a good record. Sub Rosa. For this, we fought the Battle of Ages. That is
I enjoyed Sub
great.
Rosa. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
I
don't think it's
believe
quite
they're
as good as the
back.
album after. No, they're back for one show.
Okay,
So
okay,
they're doing one comeback show. They're still because members from that band are in the Keening and Otolith,
okay.
both bands that are well worth checking out. They're both really good. So I messaged them. So does this mean those two bands are done? And they're like, no, those two bands are still going. Don't worry. In terms of other stuff, Alcest brought out Kodama, which for me was one of their best
Yes.
records. I love that record. The kind of the Japanese theme that went through it, I thought worked really well. He got a bit heavier again after the album that he did before, which I can't remember the name of, which was really ultra light and ultra poppy, which kind of lost me a little bit. Nails, You Will Never Be One of Us.
Yeah, I've literally just read that on my list.
Yeah,
And I can't believe
banger.
that's 10 years old.
Yeah, what a
Me
punch
either.
to the face that is. Like the
Voices
video.
by Wormrot.
Yeah, yeah. I did nearly pull that one out. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the one that really got me. It's 10 years old, Knocked Loose, laugh tracks. Bear in mind they've really only just blown up, and
In the
everyone's
last
still
couple of
going nuts
years.
about Arf and
Yeah.
all that. That
Yeah.
is a 10-year-old song,
10
Yeah, yeah,
years.
which is
yeah. Laugh
mental.
tracks I really enjoyed as well. Yeah, the fact that it's 2016 is 10 years ago is blowing my mind. So I'm quite pleased because I've pulled out three that nobody's mentioned. So I'm hoping I will. And I had to go through. I had to go through my record collection. I couldn't be bothered to pull too many records out. But for some reason, 16 was when I was deep in like pre-ordering records over CDs. But I've come back to CDs over the years. Just an absolute banger crossover hardcore record. Misery's Absolute Light. I first heard them because they did an amazing cover of Surprise You're Dead, Faith No More.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
And
right.
yeah, and then yeah, so they did, and this was the full length. If you have not listened to this, do so, because if you like Leeway meets Pantera meets Faith No More, I would thoroughly recommend it. They just have that vibe just running all the way through. So Absolute Light. And then we've got Mithras on Strange Loops, which is British, very into Morbid Angel, but imagine like progressive Morbid Angel, basically. It also has the heaviest breakdown of all time. Like it pulls
Strong
you
statement.
into. I will stand behind it. It has got the. Beardodoom says this 24th of January 2026, rubber stamped. It is the heaviest breakdown of all time on Inside the God Mind. And I remember I had it on my headphones on the train. I was coming home from work on the train, and I hear it kind of start, and I'm just like, are they going to do what I think they're going to do? Are they going to do what I think they're going to do? And I basically wanted to destroy that entire train from the inside out. Like it is unbelievably heavy. Last Mithras record, they haven't done one since then.
Oh,
I've
really?
not got to see them live either, but I would very much like to at some point. And then I think last but not least is a little Chicago beatdown band called Drowning. This is exceptionally heavy as well. And I would just thoroughly recommend it. It's just it's just chug fest all the way through, and just with this very sort of Chicago style street hip hop vibe to it. I wouldn't want to go and see them live because I feel like I would have every bone in my body broken just getting in one of those pits. So yeah, Drowning, Ego Trip. I was just going through my 2016, what I sort of added on my Spotify playlist for best of 2016, and thinking of Aborted. This is another Sven vocal record, which was Oracles.
Oh,
with Sven on vocals. It was basically like a somewhere in between Lacuna Coil and Aborted, basically, with Sven on vocals, but the very sort of gothic female vocals running through it as well. Into Armour.
Oh, yeah.
Paradise Gallows, yeah.
Yeah, really great record that year. Candiria. Meshuggah's kind of I think this was the start. The Violent Sleep of Reason was the start of them kind of losing their way a bit. But is the Meshuggah record which kind of the current fan base kind of got into, I think. So I think everybody going to see, no, maybe that's a bit unfair, but a lot of the people going to see Meshuggah these days are about the Violent Sleep of Reason.
For me, it was a 96 record. One we forgot to talk about was Destroy, Erase, Improve.
Destroy, Erase, Improve. Well, that's 95. That is a definite 95 record.
I thought that was 96.
Yeah. It wasn't. No, that one I do know. We missed that. We weren't doing Pod Destroyer last year, so we couldn't do a 95 anniversary. That would have been about a 4-hour long episode as well for 95.
Yeah, especially as 2005 was when I finally got into metal.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think 16 was a huge year for me in terms of bangers, but Mithras, Misery, Drowning, really good ones for me.
So in an example of live commerce, I've just bought a copy of that Misery record on your recommendation. So that
amazing.
Is Discogs in the background.
Yeah, good man. You'll have to let me know what you think of it, because it is an absolute banger. I think they are recording something at the moment because they've done nothing for 10 years. I think there was a death in the band, one of the band members, unfortunately, between then and now. So yeah, we'll see what they've got. So yeah, we have spent over 2 hours now talking about the decades of history. Any last 16 ones before, Andy, we move on to what you're up to these days? So
oh yeah, Andy, I found my list on my blog of my top 20 albums of 2016, and it's got what we've mentioned already. We've got Candiria, Cabell Attack, Nails, Textures, but also I put on Mortis, The Great Deceiver.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
I really enjoyed that one. Noctem, which are a Spanish black metal band, really dig that. Annie's Okay, which is their German metalcore band, but I really love their kind of melodic vein through their songs. Really good. Walls of Jericho, No One Can Save You From Yourself. I had in my list.
Banger of a record.
Yeah,
I didn't realise that came out that year.
Yeah, I remember buying it at the same time as number 4 in my list, which was Saocean Along the Shadow. I also had an Anafrak, Evergrey, and All's Leaders on here. I had a band called Brutai in my list. Now, they were the first band I ever interviewed for my blog. They were a British prog band. They only had one album. I think they had like an EP before then, and then they unfortunately disbanded after the album anyway, but that was a really good debut album. And then a band called Dream Shade, who are an Austrian metalcore band, but just incredible band. They are really unsung heroes of the genre. The guitarist in Dreamshade also is a session guitarist for Darkest Hour when they play Europe and the UK. But their album Vibrant, just a perfect album in my eyes. Also, Vola in Mazes, which shouldn't actually be in this list because it was a reissue in 2016, but it's when they kind of really got a lot of attention. And In Mazes is a great album. And like I said, 2016 was like the year I really discovered the more progressive stuff. And they've just kind of kept going and going and going. Great band. And then I can't believe I forgot about this. My number 2 record of that year, behind Black Crown Initiate, was Port Noir's Anyway the Wind Carries, and that's when they were signed to Century Media Records. And they had some real Cult of Luna riffs on that record. And then, funnily enough, ever since then, they've kind of gone back into what they started out as they've got more kind of melodic progressive songs, but their last album was like quite dancey. But the new singles which they've released in preparation for their album this year, it sounds like they've dipped back into their kind of more heavier prog album. So I really enjoyed that record, and I think they've even got a bit of sax on there as well. But it was, I remember now seeing this list, I couldn't decide between Black Crown Initiate and Port Noir. That's how good that Port Noir record is. But yeah, so I think that's the last of my 2016.
I think we've got so many recommendations for, you know, an absolute smorgasbord of great records that people need to listen to. I think maybe what we should do is list them in the description or something, or in the comments, so people can go back and listen to them, and, you know, hopefully add into the comments on any recommendations that we've missed. So
Andy.
should we go to tell us about yourself.
So we'll be quick, because I suspect everyone's a bit fatigued after having lots of band names thrown out for the last 2 hours and 10 minutes. So it should be quite a busy year, I think, for various projects. So Wolves put out an album last year on Ripcord, so we'll be playing some shows. I've got a few in the books. Probably the biggest one at the moment is Ripcord Fest in Glasgow in March, which is going to be awesome.
I'm really enjoying the stuff that Ripcord is released at the moment. I've just reviewed In the House of Heartbeats, who are an Essex-based band, and then also aren't Vnder on Ripcord as well?
Yes. I'm saying yes. So that album is on Ripcord. It is. However, I think they're on hiatus now.
Oh no.
Which sucks, because I freaking love that band. I think they're absolutely brilliant. Good old listenership. If you haven't checked out Vnder, go and check out Vnder. They are incredible. They're like sludge and great live. They're well, yeah. I mean, that's a bit of a gut punch for everybody, isn't it?
Sorry, they were great live. Sorry about that.
I mean, they were great live. You had to be there.
But they might be back. But I think they're on a bit of a hiatus now, because we were supposed to be doing a tour with them, I think, in March, and unfortunately that's all fallen through. But yeah, Ripcord's doing some brilliant stuff, and that particular festival's been headlined by a not Ripcord band, which is my good friends in 100-Year-Old Man, who are a freaking fantastic band. But yeah, so that's going to be really good. But failing that, it'll be getting shows wherever we can. Under a Crumbling Moon is writing at the moment, writing for 3. So I know Scott and John were in a room yesterday throwing around guitar riffs, and I know Scott's got bare bones of a couple of songs sort of already there. This is going to be more collaborative as a record. The last couple have been mostly Scott, whereas the band kind of got formed at the end of the first record. He'd already recorded most of the second record at that point. So at this point, from 3 onwards is going to be far more the whole band helping to write stuff, which is going to be great. So I don't think we've got much in the books gigs-wise for Crumbling Moon this year. I think we've only got 1 in the book so far, but I think the aim will be, focus will be get the record done, get that out, and then we'll be gigging a bit harder with that band towards the end of the year. The Grey, however, sees the idea of having gigs and writing and recording as not being exclusive. So we've the original plan was, yeah, we're going to take some time off. We're going to focus on writing, finishing the new record, and then recording the new record. And then we thought, or we could just book a shitload of gigs. Let's do that, shall we? So let's do that. So we got quite a lot in the books already. Lots of little odds and sods shows, which all of which will be really good actually. But we're off to Ireland in March with a band called Partholon, who are incredible. If you've not heard them, they're a bit like the Irish version of ISIS if they listen to a lot more punk rock. So it's big ICC tones, but it's also, there's a bit more impetus and a bit more urgency to what they do, which is fantastic. Arctangent, obviously in the summer. Absolute honor to be asked back for that. Really excited for that. I genuinely thought Codespeaker were going to be, because for what we do, Codespeaker and us, we're kind of similar. Who are also playing Ripcord Fest, by the way. I saw half of their set before we had to go and play our set, and I was like, yeah, they're going back. Yeah, it's fine. I'm okay with that. Codespeaker are absolutely leveling their tent. That's fine. So I was genuinely shocked and humbled when we got the call to go back and do it this year. So that's going to be brilliant. Desert Fest as well. So first time we've played Desert Fest, and that's going to be good. We've got a good day for that. I think we're playing the same day as Clutch, which would be fantastic. We're doing Mangata in Nottingham. There's a bunch
yes.
of really, some good stuff on that as well.
Because isn't that Nordic Giants also playing as well? But no, Mangata's the last few years have had really good lineups, and I think with like the, you know, if Techfest doesn't have any more, a lot of kind of Techfest bands would play Mangata as well. So I do really.
It was like a sister. So there was some link between Mangata and Techfest back in the day. I don't entirely know what it was, but there was some link there. But yeah, no, it's going to be good. We've got a lot on the books, more than I thought we would have. I think it's going to be a short tour in April as well, which will be good. That's not been put out yet, so I can't talk too much about it. Yeah, I get to play a show with one of my favorite bands from back in the day, which I can't talk about because it hasn't been put out yet. But I will say I'll say two things. One, they're playing Arctangent, and two, they've reformed for Arctangent. So that's probably enough of a clue, but I'm not going to say anything other than that.
Did they release an album in 1996?
I don't know. They might have done,
Have we just talked about them at any point?
No, well, we haven't talked about them yet.
Okay, yeah.
But they're a band that I absolutely adore, and I've followed one of their band members through a lot of his other bands, and in fact, I have a tattoo of one of his other bands on my leg. So that's how much of a fanboy I am. In fact, I've got that tattoo with Dan from Ohms. And he got the same tattoo because he's also a fanboy of that band. I'm not going to tell you who they are because it'll give away who the band is. But anyway, that's a rambling story. And we're about halfway through the writing in fact, slightly more than halfway through the writing for the new album. So we've got 2.5 songs, well, 2 songs and an intro down. We've got a third song, which is 90% there. We've got a fourth song, which is probably 70% there. And, you know, our songs aren't exactly, you know, grindcore songs or anything. So four songs and an intro, we were already talking a material chunk of the record. So I think the hope is to try and get that done and tight so we can demo sometime in February, March, and then go do some recording later in the year, probably with Matty Moon again, I think, in Cambridge, because he knows us, he knows the sound, and he did some awesome work with us on Kodoc. So very excited to get that done. The response to Kodoc has been brilliant.
It's a great album.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, you'd have to say that, wouldn't you? You could say, it's a bit shit. It's all right. It kind of reminds me of Saturday Night Wrist by or Gore by Deftones. But no, the response has been genuinely brilliant. I just want to make sure we can kind of keep that momentum going and get the next one done. And it helps that I think we've gone through quite a lot of the writing already, because we don't write quickly. We spend a lot of time on the writing and a lot of time refining and cutting stuff down and really getting to the core of what we want each part to do in each song, so it narratively makes sense, and there's a narrative for the record as well. So it takes a lot of time. It's quite punishing actually to try and get that right. But what we've got so far, I'm really excited about. We're playing some of it live already, and it's going down really well. In fact, we've made a few changes and tweaks to some of the songs because of the reception live. Yeah, some good stuff happening. Very exciting.
Plenty of stuff there, and hopefully things that we'll be celebrating anniversaries of in Pod Destroyer in 2036. So
yeah. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
We'll all be back here. We'll be like 2026. That only feels like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. It would just AI avatars of whatever we
we'll just be holograms.
So yeah. So thank you so much for joining us with this absolute marathon of a podcast session.
Thank you so much for having me. This is the most fun I've had with my trousers on for a long time.
Awesome.
This genuinely has been. I could talk about music until the cows come home. I have had a genuinely brilliant time. Thank you.
Oh,
it's absolute pleasure. And thanks for everybody listening. And I hope you have stuck with us through the over 2 hours. I hope you find a lot of recommended records that you should listen to. Just for the algorithm again, we will say acid bath.
Acid bath.
Acid
bath.
Yeah,
acid bath as well, right?
Acid bath.
Acid bath.
No, I think actually you mean acid bath.
That is the one.
Yeah, acid bath. Yeah.
And I might see you at the Manchester show, because I as I say, I think I might have an opportunity to go to that. Now, the most annoying thing is I've got to go put all of these CDs back in their homes now. So thank you so much. Thanks for listening, everybody. And we will catch you very soon on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Pod Destroyer is not filmed in front of a live studio audience. Metalmance and Beardodoom are not trained professionals, and as such, it is positively encouraged to try this at home.